Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I actually had an issue with the recording with the Union Leader Network. So unfortunately, this is coming out late, but I apologize and thank you so much for your patience. We have a great topic today. It's about connecting with your staff. We're noticing that there's a number of people, of different clients that we're working with who are struggling with this. And so we wanted to bring this to your attention and give you some strategies and tips. The reason why it matters is because we're hearing that there are some toxic culture issues within some prospects as well as with some clients. And I just want to say, like, one thing that's different about the union environment to other business environments is that staff aren't typically going anywhere. They're not quitting in large numbers. So your indicator of them being unhappy is not turnover rates, which is very costly. But instead of quitting, what they're doing is disengaging and they're very disgruntled. And so then it ends up having a very uncomfortable, frustrated staff environment, not only for the administrative staff internally, but also for you guys in leadership. So people are disengaging and they're just getting grumpy, and it's becoming an awful place to work. And what I find interesting, and we've just completed a new round of interviews with a new client, and we have another one in a very similar boat. The staff aren't asking for fancy perks. They're not asking for major solutions. In some cases, they're just listening. They're asking to be seen. They're asking for leadership to be present. They want to be heard and they want to know that you've got their back and they want responsiveness and communication. Most importantly, they want face time with leadership. And I understand how tough that can be because you are on the road so often. I mean, some of you are literally traveling, I think, more than you're actually in your office. So I get it. But we are seeing with more and more staff, they're saying, I haven't had a real conversation with my leader in 3 months. He's always on the road, or I sent this really important message and I never got a response, and that hurts. And I can't take it anymore. So we're hearing some resentment on both sides. And I want to address that today. So let's get into what happens when staff aren't feeling nurtured. It's really tough. Have you heard of this phrase, quiet quitting? That's spread around LinkedIn over the last several years since the pandemic, where people were talking about this quiet quitting. People weren't resigning, but they were just quitting and shutting down and not doing a very good job. And that's really tough. A disengaged workforce is really hard to reignite. And you're going to start seeing a lot of really petty behavior that can feel so frustrating. There's a few things that I've heard as well that people don't feel like they're being consulted on decisions. I'm hearing from administrative staff at large locals that software, new phone systems, processes, things are being introduced, and there's no consultation with the staff on how it would be used day to day. In some cases, there's like big investments into new concepts and new software and tools, but it's not a good fit and it feels frustrating because they're like, well, if you had to just asked me, I would have told you we need this, this, and this feature. So what you'll notice is that staff will just disapprove of decisions behind closed doors. They're going to start stirring up petty conflicts among themselves, and before you know it, that office culture is just going to be intolerable. Um, and the problem isn't necessarily turnover; it's an erosion. It's a slow kind of leak of trust, of energy, and respect when the staff don't feel disconnected. And that's when you're going to start to feel that chatter and the rumors and the dirty looks. People are feeling connection in the office and they're telling us we're not being heard, and that's coming from their leadership. Now, you don't need to be a mother hen. You don't need to be a micromanager. Um, the fix is not complicated. It actually just comes down to regular, meaningful touch points between you and your staff where they each individually feel seen and supported and valued. And many of you have open door policies, but this is different than that because open door means you get interrupted all the time. And we're always teaching you to teach others how to treat you and to set your boundaries. So, like, we're telling you that on one hand, as a leader, that you open door is good, but you don't need to be available all the time and respond all the time because that can waste your time. But here's what we do suggest. We suggest that you introduce one-on-ones. They are a game changer, and you should be doing this with each person that reports to you. If you're in a large office and you have layers of, kind of supervisors or managements, you're going to be having your one-on-ones with those supervisor managers. And then we'll get into the cadence of how often you meet with anyone else. Oh, actually, I have that right here on the slide. So direct reports, you want to meet with monthly, non-negotiable, biweekly, even better. Everyone else, quarterly. So you should be having, call that like a skip level. So not the ones directly reporting to you, but the ones one below, quarterly. You want to keep everybody in that layer visible. To you. So obviously you're going to have your inner circle, the people that you're working with all the time, people that are maybe managing the different departments, but then try to meet with others at least quarterly. Without a one-on-one where you just, with a coffee, your phone's turned off or turned over, you're not interrupting, the staff really feel seen, they feel connected, and they feel supported. And this is their chance for you to do some different conversations. And I'll tell you what it is and what it isn't. One of the excuses I hear the most is, we're busy, we're traveling, I can't. It's not true. You can have a quick video or phone call from a hotel, from a conference, you can step away. And it is actually more important when you're traveling and busy not to cancel them, because you're not there, you're not present. So it's important to get that visibility. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what it is and what it isn't. It is a regular touch point. You are building trust and connection. It is a place for staff to raise issues early with you, the things that they might not raise normally. It's a chance to remove roadblocks. So if something's getting in the way, things are challenging, it's a chance to hear that. And it also is a place to be focused on the individual's growth, their well-being, and support their needs in the workplace. It's not a status update. It's not a tell me all the things you're doing. It's not a time for you to dump tasks on people or dictate. And it's a little different than coaching and performance reviews. We can talk about those a little after here. And it's not something you should cancel when you're busy. So it's really, if you look at it, it's a place for you to listen. It's a space for them to be able to speak, you to listen, and then respond and act accordingly. So here's a suggested agenda that I really like. I would start with what's going well, and then listen. And I would suggest asking probing questions. So if they say what's going well, that's great. Tell me, how did you do that? How's that feeling? How are you going to celebrate that? Ask some more questions. What's getting in your way? What's frustrating you? Tell me more about that. What are your ideas? How could we fix that? What would you like to see? Ask probing questions. You can share your feedback. So in what's going well, you can say, oh, I'm glad you brought that up. I've noticed as well that, or I've heard from members that they love getting you on the phone because you're so helpful and you're always going above and beyond for them. Recognize that. When you encourage and recognize behavior, you encourage that to continue. To say, I've seen you doing this recently, and the impact I've seen on the members is, be specific and celebrate and acknowledge that. What I hear sometimes in our survey results with staff, we ask a question, something like, what does a good job look like for you in a day? Or how do you know when you've done a good job? Or what does a good day look like? And the response often is, if I don't get told off, or if I don't hear anything negative, then I know I've done a good job. And I think that recognizing people with positive feedback, it fills up their tank. It fills up their tank to full, so that when you do bring constructive feedback, you're just depleting it a little. But it's very hard if they have an empty tank and then all you're doing is constructive, because you're going to go into debt with them emotionally. You've got to build up so that you can do little bits of constructive and they'll receive it and hear it. When you're asking what's getting in your way, here's where you're tackling any roadblocks. So you want to listen to what are the obstacles, because that's your job in a lot of places. It's to remove barriers, it's to remove obstacles. If they're saying, I need a scanner at my desk, or if they're saying, I'm really struggling with focus, or I'm not able to get this Excel done very well because there's something on it that's broken, or um, I'm confused as to why we have to scan, print, and file. Is there a better way? Like, you want to be asking these questions so that you can say, you know what, I love that idea. Why don't you come back to me in a week with some ideas about how to fix this? Talk with the girls and bring me back an idea, and let's see if we can go with it. This helps get them involved, and it keeps everybody empowered. And then I would focus forward. What's a goal that we should focus on this month together? And it might be a process improvement. It might be, oh, I've been noticing that our members are, really struggling with filling out forms. Could we digitize it? There's different things that could become a focus. And keep that meaningful, future oriented. Set a SMART goal, if you know what that is, SMART. You can Google that if we haven't talked about it. And then I would close with some support. What do you need from me? And leave them feeling backed, not judged. This is your chance to listen and ask probing questions. Um, Coaching conversations are slightly different. This one is going to happen maybe quarterly, and you're going to get more intentional about their goals, their skills, and the future. So it's not really just focused on today's problems and the little things. This is more their growth, their development, their skill building. If they say, I've been dreaming one day to be the office manager, or I'd love to get better at developing accounting skills, and maybe their data entry. Maybe there's a course they can take at a local college, or there's something that you can do to develop a person. It's always good to be thinking about that. Everybody loves having career progression, and this is your chance to do that. There is actually a model that we teach in our new manager training. And if you're curious about this coaching model, I think we have 6 or so lessons that you can take on your own pace with a practice conversation that you can do with one of our coaches, and they'll role play one of these with you. So if you're curious about that, just let me know, or if anybody else in your team you think needs this training. So we teach the GROW model. I'm not going to go all in it, but this is where you're going to essentially, this is the agenda you're going to have for your phone call in these coaching specific conversations. And it is very, very development focused. So this is a great way to just see your team beyond the work that they're doing today and do a little bit of planning for their future and their future skill development. It's a great way to retain smart, excellent people, and a good way to build the skill of people who you think are maybe lacking. And then I'd say another touch point is for the whole team. So beyond one-on-ones, you could think about a quarterly team function that's more than pizza and an announcement. Think about doing something fun once a year. I know we all do kind of our Christmas thing, but sometimes getting away from those and doing something different halfway through the year is really great. I love focus groups where you ask for staff input on upcoming changes, or, hey, there's this process and I think we could do it better. What do you all think? Stop, start, continue. We facilitate a lot of these kind of things. Okay, and the most important thing I would say is to follow up on your commitments. This is about you and your reputation with your staff, because one-on-ones without follow-up is just broken promises. That is, they will know what you said yes to, or they will know what you heard in the meeting because they will have finally gotten it off their chest. And if you do nothing about it, it's going to be like, see, I always tell them and nothing ever happens. And that's really depressing. So staff will remember what you said, and they'll notice when you don't deliver. So follow up, because the trust can erode and morale will drop. And that's a direct reflection on you. So I would say simple actions are all you need to take. I would send a quick note to recap. Thanks, Janice. This is what I heard. You told me this, and this were a challenge, and I committed to removing this one obstacle. or I committed to getting you this tool, and then put that in your own task manager. Many of you should be using a task management tool by now. If you work with us, you certainly are, because we encourage that right from the start so that important things don't drop off your radar. So give yourself a task, calendar the next check-in, make sure that you look ahead and go, all right, let's meet on this date, and circle back on your commitments. It's really, really important. It shows respect, and it tells your staff that you are hearing them and you do have their back. So takeaways, we didn't talk about this in the main body, but I was thinking about it. If you have an assistant, definitely have a daily quick sync, 15 minutes, what's on your list, what floated through your mind all night. What I don't suggest is texting them every time something pops into your mind. What I do suggest is opening the notes app on your phone through the night, in the day when things are coming into your mind, jot them down and then bring them to your morning sync with your EA. They get to come to you with, hey, I didn't know how to answer this email, or how do you want to respond, or what decision do you want to make here? And then it's your job to make those calls and their job to go execute during the day on your behalf. Definitely do your biweekly or monthly one-on-ones with everyone who reports directly to you. Schedule a quarterly coaching conversation, and a quarterly or half annually or semi-annually or annually team event. You can do those informally as well. If there's something that you're just trying to decide and you need input from people, you can run those focus groups ad hoc whenever needed. And don't forget to give in the moment coaching and feedback. So in the moment coaching looks like somebody's bringing you a challenge and you can say, all right, what are your ideas for how to fix this? What are some options? What's going on right now? Listen, ask better questions, and then have them come up with a couple of solutions before guiding and telling. So coaching is a little different than telling and advising. And there's always room for positive feedback. I have a way of recommending you give feedback, and it's always to state the behavior you saw, the impact it had, and you can use I statements to personalize. So you can say, when I saw you do this, I was really impressed. I saw the impact it had on your coworker or on your member or on, that association, however it may be, and feels really good. So give positive feedback and ask for staff input before you implement any major changes. Those are certainly my big takeaways for today. And I'd love to hear from you. Please do respond to this email if you had a chance to listen. We try and keep these short for you. And please do let me know if there are any other topics you'd love for us to talk about. All right. I hope you have a great rest of your day.